This is Two Bad Boys, a very old Cherokee tale. You will be completing your reading roadmap as you listen along. Sigi, 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 Sigi. My story rattle has sounded. It is time to begin. Listen. In the beginning, before there was a world of work, there was a family. Kanati, first hunter, returned every day from the hunt with his wolf at his heels. He always carried meat, sometimes a wild turkey, some rabbits, or a deer over his shoulder. Silu, Corn Mother, washed the meat and set it over the fire to cook. Then she would go to the storehouse to collect corn and beans in a beautiful basket she had woven. Boy watched all that his parents did and listened carefully to the stories they told him. Boy had nothing to do but play. Sometimes, though, he grew lonely. One day, as he built mud houses on the riverbank, he saw a boy beneath the surface of the water. He reached for the boy and touched his hand. "Who are you?" he asked. "I'm your wild brother," answered the other. Boy was astonished. "If that is true, can you come and play with me?" The strange boy came out of the water and played Chunky with Boy until dusk. Then the boy from the water went back to the river. From that day on, the boy from the water came out of the river each morning to play with his brother. The boys thought up games of stickball, knucklebones, wrestling, and all the others that boys liked to play. But at night, the river boy always returned to the water. Boy never said anything to his parents about his strange wild brother. One day, Mother Silu saw them playing together. That night over dinner, she asked her son, "Who is that boy you were playing with today?" "He says that he is my brother," Boy replied. Kanati thought about this news. Then he said, "Tomorrow, ask this boy to wrestle with you. Then hold him tight and call us. We will come and catch him." The next day, when the other boy came out of the river, Boy obeyed his father. As soon as his brother had pinned him down, he called out to Silu and Kanati. They rushed from their hiding place and caught the other boy. Coo! We all wished they had not, for although they had captured him, they could not tame him, and so they called him Wild Boy. If there was mischief to be done, Wild Boy would think of it, and he always got his brother into trouble. When he was hungry for sweets, he talked Boy into climbing the bee tree. Then he ate the honey while Boy nursed his stings. He covered the smoke hole with tree limbs so that the lodge filled with smoke. Boy's eyes flowed with tears as he removed the branches. Wild Boy got Boy to hold Wolf's pup so that he could tie rattlers to the animal's tail. When they released him, he overturned all of Silu's baskets and spilled the corn flour she was grinding. "You bad boys," she scolded them. "Go outside and don't come back till dinner time." One day Wild Boy said, "I wonder where Father goes to get the animals for our table. Let's follow him and see." And they followed their father to the river and watched him cut reeds. He fitted a flint point to the end of each reed. On the other end he skillfully attached 2 feathers. "What will he do with those?" asked Boy. "I want to find out," said Wild Boy. The brothers followed Kanati up a mountainside. At last he came to a giant stone in front of a cave. He pushed against it, and the stone rolled away. And suddenly out jumped a buck, and Kanati shot it with one of his arrows. Then he quickly rolled the stone back into place. He gutted the deer, tied its legs together, and swung it across his shoulders. "That is amazing!" exclaimed Wild Boy. Then they ran home ahead of their father and pretended that they had seen nothing. After their evening meal of venison and corn cakes, Wild Boy patted his stomach and said, "That was a delicious meal. Where do you go, father, to find such fine meat?" "Ah, my son," said Kanati, "it is the way of the hunter to know the secrets of the 4-legged and winged ones. It is the proper way of young boys to accept what they are given and not ask so many questions." But Wild Boy could not stop asking questions, and he could not help planning and scheming. Now Wild Boy could not be happy with Boy's games. Finally he took his brother aside. "Let us go to the great stone as Father did and see what else is in the cave," he urged his brother. "Father will be angry if we do that," said Boy. But Wild Boy would not be silent until Boy agreed to his plan. So the brothers went back to the mountainside to find the great stone. The stone was heavier than they had imagined, and it took their strength to roll it aside. No sooner had they moved it out jumped a buck and a doe, a mountain sheep, and a buffalo, followed by all other 4-leggeds. The boy had to move out of the way to avoid being crushed by the stampede. Even Turtle got away. Birds escaped too. Turkeys, cranes, hawks, eagles, blue jays, crows, and all other winged creatures filled the sky, almost blocking out the light of the sun. When Kanadi saw them, he knew at once what had happened. He hurried to the cave and found his frightened sons. "You two bad boys did not heed my words," he shouted. "Now I must go away, and you will have to track the animals and bring them down with bows and arrows. This you have brought on yourselves." And he strode off to the western land of the darkening sun. Now there was no time to play boys' games. The young brothers had to hunt every day to find enough meat just to stay alive. They soon found out what it was like to feel hunger. The animals were too cunning for them, and most nights they went home empty-handed. As winter came on, they were cold as well as hungry. Selu missed her husband, but she continued to look after the boys. She hung their frozen clothes by the fire and gave them warm skins to wrap around themselves. Each night she would feed them corn and beans with a little jerky left over from Kanadi's hunting. Boy spent many hours staring into the fire and regretting what they had done. The winter was long and hard. One night, in the spring, Wild Boy pulled his brother aside and whispered, "Where does Mother go to get the corn and beans? Let us follow her and see." Boy did not want to listen to Wild Boy. He knew Selu would be angry if they followed her. But once again, Wild Boy talked his brother into going along with his scheme. They followed Selu into a small building of woven reeds and shingles that stood on stilts. They watched as she climbed a wooden ladder and disappeared inside. "Come to the building with me and let me stand on your shoulder so I can see what she does," Wild Boy pleaded. Again, Boy did as Wild Boy asked. Standing on his brother's shoulders, Wild Boy was able to loosen a shingle and look inside. Selu stood before a basket with her arms upraised and a golden light on her face. After a time, she rubbed her stomach in the direction the sun goes round, and ears of corn came flying to shed their kernels into her basket. When it was half full, she rubbed her stomach in the opposite direction, and beans filled the basket to the top. "Oh ho," thought Wild Boy, "I could easily do that." When Selu bowed her head in gratitude, the boys ran home ahead of her. When she arrived, they acted as if they had seen nothing. That night at the evening meal, Wild Boy asked, "Mother, where do you get the fine vegetables you cooked for our dinner?" Selu looked at him sadly. "That is the secret of corn, Mother. It is not a thing for boys to know." But next morning, as they left the lodge to hunt, Wild Boy said, "Let's go to the hut and gather food as we have seen Mother do." "Oh no, brother, for I fear what will happen if we disobey again." "But why should we always have to depend on Mother? This is not fair," Wild Boy argued. In the end, as always, he won, and Boy followed Wild Boy to the storehouse where Selu got the vegetables. The boys had no difficulty in filling a basket as Mother had done, but when they came down the ladder, Selu was waiting for them. "You two bad boys," she cried. "Because you have helped yourselves, our lives must change forever." With a wave of her hand, the building pulled loose from the earth and flew away to the west. "The corn and beans in your basket are all that you have left. From this time on, you must dig the earth, plant the seeds, you hold them, then tend and harvest the plants when they are ready," she told them. Then Selu flew away to join her husband in the western land of the darkening sun. Since that time, people have had to hunt for their meat, plant their vegetables, and work in this world. And this was all caused by those two bad boys. Okay, so this isn't a creation story that says how the world was created. This explains why we have to hunt our food and we have to plant our vegetables. That it was originally given to us completely for free and in unlimited expanses, and with that curiosity and that disobeying, those things had to stop. So basically the Cherokee work the land and they hunt for animals because of these two bad boys.